Welcome Trinidad and Tobago to our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Nicola Barito. Let's take a look at the headlines. The Minister of Works and Infrastructure announces the development and implementation of a pilot mentorship program. An incorporation of special needs students into the education system. And the Prime Minister calls on parents to be more protective of their children. Thank you for joining us. A policy that will seek to incorporate special needs students into the education system is said to be in the making. This comes as government seeks to train teachers and personnel in the field to provide an equal opportunity to an education and schooling to all children.
A policy that seeks to incorporate education for special needs students into the curriculum is said to be in the making. This after months of consultation with various stakeholders in the education sector have resulted in a report that states specific education needs be addressed for this group. Education Minister Dr. Tim Gopi Singh says the policy will be taken to Parliament for finalizing in the near future.
We also had representatives from various private and public institutions, government and non-governmental organizations, and service providers in the field of special education. All of this to garner input towards strategizing and providing recommendations to formulate a comprehensive document on special needs for Trinidad and Tobago. This is a draft policy. The concerns and recommendations expressed in the consultations were taken into consideration in the development of this policy document, and a copy of which we have now. The Ministry of Education will be conducting further stakeholder consultations to inform the refinement and finalization of the draft special education policy, and a further submission will be made to Cabinet in that regard.
Responding to this matter comes after statistics show a high number of students in the school system who have special needs. The minister says teachers will be trained to detect and tend to these students.
We're looking at a system-wide capacity building. We believe that at a national level we're looking at about 30% of students born annually and who grow up from the childbirth to a few early years of life. And 30% out of a 17,000 birth rate annually is equivalent to about 5,100 students who do have special needs on an annual basis. And therefore in our school population, we're now looking at ways and means of training our teachers and school social workers and guidance counselors and guidance officers and clinical and behavioral and emotional psychologists to help us detect some of these problems at an early stage.
The move is said to ensure that all children have access to an equal opportunity to education. Earlier this year, government announced plans to build more special education schools to cater exclusively for children with special needs, while integrating special students into the regular school system.
The proposed policy is intended to provide the basis for creating and reforming the mechanisms necessary for addressing the issues of access and equity, as mentioned by the Minister of Communication, that no child must be deprived of education at all. So the issue of access and equity, access because of special needs of students, with needs that arise in their learning process, will be dealt with.
This framework of education policy will ensure facilities and trained personnel are provided and taken into consideration when drafting the legislation.
We have to consider constructing some of these centers and staffing these centers with the relevant human resource personnel. And of course, upon determination and detection, the issue of the therapeutic management of these students, whether psychoeducational, clinical, physical, occupational, speech and language, behavioral, visual, all these other areas.
The minister says government will also implement the inclusion model of education as international studies show it helps to boost self-esteem and socializing skills of special needs students. Kimberam Kalawan, News 4.
And the Minister of Works and Infrastructure, Dr. the Honorable Surajratan Rambachan, has announced the development and implementation of a pilot mentorship program which will begin in his ministry. He says this is simply part of the government's promise to create jobs for young people and university graduates.
The Cabinet has approved a mentorship program in the Ministry of Works and Infrastructure, where they have approved the taking on of 50 what you call apprentices for a 2-year period in the first instance.
Minister Rambachan says this is simply the formalizing of something which has happened since he began his tenure as a government minister. He says over the past 3 years, he has created more than 500 positions in an effort to ensure that jobs are made available to young persons and university graduates. The Works Minister says this mentorship program will counter what he sees as a chronic problem in the public service.
One of the problems in the public service I have noticed in my stint as a minister is that we are not paying sufficient attention to developing people to replace people. In other words, in the specific disciplines in which they ought to be developed. And so we go over the wheel over and over again. Is that we need to mentor people in specific disciplines. And when you look at the age structure of those who now hold those positions, within the next 2 to 3 years, a number of them will be retiring. And we need to replace those people and as well people below who will be coming up the line. And therefore we have identified that we can begin a very effective pilot mentorship program with 50 such persons joining the Ministry of Works and Infrastructure. And they'll be mentored and trained by those with experience.
Dr. Rambachan says in addition to providing a solution to the human resource problem facing the ministry, the mentorship program will also aid in empowering and developing the graduates involved in the program.
There are 2 kinds of trainings we can have. One is the training that we get at the university, the classroom training. But a lot of students complain that they cannot get the job because they have to demonstrate that they are able to do the job. And while the on-the-job apprentice program that we have, the OJT program, takes on a lot of those students, we feel that we can go deeper now. And in collaboration with my colleague minister, Mr. Fazal Karim, this is one such aspect we can develop where the skills of people will be further detailed and developed in specific fields of endeavor.
Gregory McBurney, News 4.
News 4 continues right after the break. Stay with us. Commuters traveling along the Churchill, Roosevelt and Uriah Butler Highway interchange might have noticed the red, green and blue Christmas lights along streetlights. Works and Infrastructure Minister Dr. the Honorable Surajratan Rambachan says the move is to bring a little Christmas joy to citizens.
You might have noticed the festive colors lighting street lamps like candy canes while approaching the Churchill Roosevelt Highway at night. The red, green and blue lights gives you more than an indication that it's Christmas here in Trinidad and Tobago. According to Works and Infrastructure Minister Dr. Surajratan Rambachan, the aim is to bring a little cheer into the hearts of citizens this season. He was speaking at the decommissioning of the traffic lights at the Churchill Roosevelt Highway intersection. At exactly 6:26 p.m., the interchange traffic lights used for over 60 years connecting all 4 points of Trinidad were switched off.
We are celebrating the opening tonight of this section of the interchange, which goes into Grand Bazaar. And concurrent with that, the light downstairs will go off. So there'll be no traffic lights again in this area as of this evening. The lighting up of the interchange is also more than just something for Christmas. Christmas is a time when people should be happy, when there should be good feelings in the country. And this entire effort, which is a cooperative effort between the Ministry of Public Utilities, TNTech, Ministry of Works and Infrastructure, NIDCO, as well as Junior Sami and Kusals, is meant really to create good feelings in the country, happy feelings. The country has gone through a lot in 2013, and the country needs some breathing space. And we felt that when people drive over this particular interchange, and they see the lights. It will also symbolize the crossing from one year into another year. And as we move into the new year, it will be a new year in which, as I said, there'll be joy, there'll be peace, and there'll be beauty in the environment and in the lives of every citizen.
Public Utilities Minister Nizam Bakhsh says the Festive Lights project was one he was hoping would be taken to other parts of the nation.
What we've seen here is very often in developed countries. You see these signs and symbols and so on. And this is a sign that we are getting there, gradually but surely. And I want to commend the team here. And I think we're going to take it a little further. We have been discussing with TSEC whether it could perhaps do it at other areas as well. So that in this country you're going to see some permanent landmarks, at least to boost the morale of the people of the country. And this is what we hope to benefit from this as well.
Minister Rambachan stated that in 2014, a number of roadworks projects will be completed.
By the end of the first quarter of 2015, we'll be driving from San Fernando, Dumfries, right into Point Fortin. Kirab Interchange, those tenders are now being evaluated and an award will be made by the first week of January.
Kimberam Calawan, News 4.
In other news, a new batch of qualified craftsmen and women will soon be absorbed into the private and public sector. This comes as they completed training in a number of areas at the National Energy Skills Center, NESC.
The Honorable Fazal Karim, Minister of Tertiary Education and Skills Training, told the graduates their commencement was not their ultimate. Although major, he said it was a stepping stone. Using as an example former South African President Nelson Mandela, who passed away on December 5th, Minister Karim urged a 2013 graduating class to use Mr. Mandela's life as an example not to ever give up on their dream.
One of the characteristics and the hallmarks of Nelson Mandela, above all, was his faith in Almighty God, his faith in the people of South Africa, and his perseverance in pursuit of his goals in life. Like you are sitting here today in pursuit of your goals in your life's journey.
The Honourable Minister also told the graduates that he was proud of them and that they too must be proud of themselves.
You are the sons and daughters of Trinidad and Tobago. You are future leaders. Who knows, our future prime ministers and presidents and world leaders. Today, you are adding value to the stock of skills of the citizens of this country. Today, you are graduating, but like all graduations, it presents you with an opportunity. Yes, like the very young man who is smiling and he's so happy that he's graduating today. He's looking at me. Today is an important day in his life, because today is a day that he will sit and remember what he was yesterday. And today is a day that he will be able to beam as he's beaming, looking at me, with pride and joy that he has accomplished. Like Chairman Khan has said, in spite of what anybody else said that you couldn't be, today you are a success story.
The National Energy Skills Center, NESC, was established in 1997. It was envisaged as the solution to the need for a premier training provider to lead national training initiatives. This vision was based on the projected demands for certified craftsmen arising out of the growth in the energy sector and consequently the construction and related industries. Felicia Wilson-Mon, News 4.
Sport is up right after the break. We open our sportscast with cricket news as the woes of the West Indies on the tour of New Zealand were compounded with news that off-spinner Shane Shillingford has been suspended by the International Cricket Council after his action was found illegal. His teammate Marlon Samuels, who is a part-time off-spinner, has been prohibited from bowling quick deliveries in international cricket. The bowlers were reported for suspect actions on November 16th during the second test versus India in Mumbai. They underwent biomechanical analysis in Australia on November 29th before the start of the New Zealand series. Shillingford has taken 6 wickets in the first 2 tests against New Zealand, but will not be available for the final match in Hamilton, which starts on Thursday. Samuels has not bowled in the current series. An ICC statement said that an independent biomechanical analysis had revealed that for both Shillingford deliveries, the amount of elbow extension in his bowling action exceeded the 15 degrees level of tolerance permitted under the ICC regulations. Shillingford will remain suspended until he submits a fresh analysis that proves his action has been corrected. The analysis on Samuel's action revealed that the spinner's standard off-break delivery was legal, but the quicker delivery exceeded the prescribed levels of tolerance. Switching to regional football action as Petrotrin, Palo Seco and UTT faced off on Thursday in the final of the Southern Football Association's Executive Cup at Skinner Park in San Fernando. Wayne Cunningham was there and he has the highlights.
2 top-level coaches were calling the shots at the Southern Football Association's Executive Cup final at the Skinner Park on Thursday. Everett Gally Cummings pitted his UTT youngsters against Petrotrin Palo Seco, marshaled by Dexter Cyrus. The 2 former national attackers would have been incensed in the first half, as plays going forward yielded little. UTT's Jamal Creighton looked surprised that he got a sighted goal and failed to capitalize. Darren Alexis caused the first bit of trouble at the other end, but it was thwarted by some stout defending from the experienced Kevon Noriega. The build-up plays were commendable, but the squandering just would not stop. To their credit, the Oilmen were getting closer, Corey Cyrus finding the side netting after the fortunate bounce. Then the diving header from Sebastian Bailey went flying high as the first session ended goalless. Trent Lockheed got the Petrotrin crew fired up in the second half with this well-taken shot. Fortunately for UTT, Kenny Dick was alert to the danger. In a game of misses, this was the worst. Alexis failing to find a foot in front of goal. After this shot, Skinner Park erupted, but the side netting is all that was found by Gavin Samaru. When the goal came, it came in spectacular fashion. Michael Charles with a rocket to beat Dick in the 88th minute and make it 1-0 in favour of Petrotrin. There was nowhere back for UTT as the Oilmen takes the Executive Cup. Wayne Cunningham, News 4 Sports.
When we come back, the Prime Minister distributes toys at Skinner Park, San Fernando. Stay with us. Prime Minister the Honorable Kamla Persad-Bissessé is calling on parents across the nation to be more protective of their children. During her toy distribution exercise at Skinner Park, San Fernando, she made the plea to save and protect the nation's children.
Parents are being urged to take a more proactive role in caring for their children. Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessé made the plea during her Christmas toy distribution drive held in San Fernando. With the recent crimes against children, the Prime Minister says someone must take a responsible role in protecting our next generation.
Parents, I ask you to keep your eyes on your children every single time you can, wherever you are. Last night I talked about bringing back to TV, to put back the ads that we used to have some long time ago, where the ad says, do you know where your child is? And at every single point in time, do you know where your child is? Parents, guardians, caregivers, You are the first ones responsible for the children. It cannot be the police. It cannot be the government. You are the first ones responsible.
Referring to the old proverb, it takes a village to raise a child, she added that the wider community has an important role in raising children.
You also have a duty and responsibility that any child anywhere is also under your care. And so today I ask every single adult, every single person, mother, father, grandmother, grandfather, auntie, uncle, whoever you may be, at all times to protect and take care of our children.
Meanwhile, speaking to reporters, the Prime Minister commended the Chief Justice for the job being done to ensure justice is delivered.
I think we are all concerned with delays in the administration of justice, but I want to commend the Honourable Chief Justice who summoned his judges together, gave them some deadlines, some timelines and so on, and steps taken to speed up the system of justice.
Prime Minister Prasad Bisesa added that her administration intends to deal with any delays through the preliminary inquiries bill.
There are other matters that we can help with, which is on the legislative scale. You remember the infamous preliminary inquiry bill that we had brought to the Parliament, which remains yet unproclaimed. It is something we will want to look at again, because that could help to deal with some of the backlog in the magistrates' courts by removing PIs and doing paper committals and so on. So legislatively, there are matters we could do. We continue to engage with the Chief Justice, with the judiciary in consultations to see how we can assist as well. But I do commend the Honourable Chief Justice for taking steps and trying to deal with delays. This is not a new matter, as you may well know. And whilst there has been some reduction in the time spans for delays and the completion of matters, indeed there is more that can be done by all of us.
Kimberly Calawan, News 4.
Well, that's how we wrap up this edition of our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Nicola Barreto. Thank you for joining us.